when the Austro-Hungarians came, they wanted to present their imperialist power upon the nation that was living here. And they wanted to build, of course, the Rathaus or City Hall. And of course, this man's house was blocking the way of making any progress. And because he didn't want to negotiate in any way, he told the soldiers that the only way he will give them this land is if they reconstruct his house brick by brick, carrying the bricks across this bridge. And they actually did that. That's why it was called Spite House or the Stubborn House, because it shows the mentality of people from Sarajevo, from Bosnia and Herzegovina. We are very, very stubborn. And we will do everything to be right in every situation, because we always have a wisdom like all smart, intelligent people. Today it's a restaurant that serves traditional Bosnian food with many spices, like adding pepper on burek. And even though if it should have been a museum,
it is a restaurant.
It's a restaurant, so it has possibly more use to people. Thank you.
Thank you,
So you can go upstairs and you can see the offices of the mayor and the city council. And when you go downstairs, you can actually see behind you information center of Hague Tribunal for former Yugoslav republics, including everything that happened during the period 1992-1995.
Almost everyone's life in Bosnia and Herzegovina has been affected in some way by the war, and so maybe it's the fact that some people are more interested in the topic than others. I find the most interesting part about this country is probably the political part of it, which of course was the war was a big part of that political climate that we're in now. So I find it quite interesting to then experience it with other people who don't have this same introduction, don't have the same immersion with the topic as I do. So I found it actually very interesting to see these pictures from the war and just the reactions, the raw reactions from people.
Bosnian war is still fresh, I would say, subject, topic. It's really, especially for those who lived through it, so teachers, history teachers that lived through the war, they have difficulty how to talk about that to their students. I have a difficulty to talk about that with my students, but if they ask me something, I give them my perspective as the person who lived through the war in Sarajevo, through the siege. So I think that subject is still controversial. It's still emotional for a lot of people. But I really think that it needs more time, more research to be done, more history to be investigated about that, especially about the war, for our students in future to have a study really well done, and teachers not to be afraid to talk about that in classroom. Okay guys, now you are going to hear something which is historically really important, and our student Riyad is going to tell you why. Riyad.
Alright, so back in the 20th century, when Bosnia was annexed to Austro-Hungary, we were still under the sovereignty of Ottoman Empire, but the Archduke of Austro-Hungary came to visit the military and monitor the exercises they were planning in Bosnia. Serbia wasn't happy, and many people here wanted to be independent in this country, especially Bosnian Serbs, and they formed a revolutionary group called Young Bosnia in an attempt to free the country from other influences and empires such as Austro-Hungary. During the time when the Archduke was arriving, he was coming from the Trumuria Bridge, and he didn't want any guards. He wanted minimum security. He wanted to be as close to public as possible. Unfortunately, that was no good, since their first attack happened at the Trumuria Bridge, where the bomb was actually thrown at his vehicle. Luckily, with the swipe of his hand, he managed to avoid the incident. The bomb was thrown on the car behind him. After that, they quickly rushed to the city hall to see what situation they're in. Luckily, they were like welcomed by a major that had his speech and all, but he wasn't included in this incident. Later, the Archduke was calmed down, and they decided to pursue the original plan, but with some minor changes. They were gonna visit the hospital with the people that were injured from this bomb thrown earlier, and but no one actually told the driver that. The driver was the first car, and behind was the other column of his guards, and the driver actually made the wrong turn. That was the biggest mistake, maybe the cause of World War I. The driver was coming down from the city hall, and he made a turn right here to the street, where he was stopped by Archduke, telling him he went the wrong way. No one told the driver. He tried to reverse, but his car stalled. Meanwhile, the assassinator that found himself luckily in that place, unfortunately for the Archduke, pulled a gun on him and killed his wife Sophie and the Archduke himself. Murder there, they didn't survive much longer, even though rushed to the hospital, and that was the main cause of World War I, because Austria-Hungary later announced war to Serbia, since the assassinator was a part of Black Hand and got their weapons from Serbia as a revolutionary group who wanted to free Bosnia. As Austria-Hungary announced war to Serbia, Serbia called in their ally from Russia, and then Austria-Hungary called Germany. And that's how it all evolved around World War I, calling their allies and starting out the World War I. This bridge where we're standing right now, Latin Bridge, also called Princip Bridge, because of the assassination that happened and because of the assassinator, Gavrilo Princip. So yeah, that would be it.
Thank you. So here, where the museum is the actual location where Gavrilo Princip is standing, where he took that shot and starting the World War I.